Statement calls next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Officer Garrett Luling.
Good afternoon, officer. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is up a riser to my right. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's on my left, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. If you would please state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Sure. First name is Garrett. Last name is Luling. First name is spelled Garrett. My last name is spelled Luling.
Thank you. Go ahead, Attorney Upper, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Officer Luling.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I want to direct your attention to the date of November 21 of 2021. And you were aware of the Waukesha Christmas parade taking place that afternoon. Is that correct, sir?
Objection, lead.
Correct. I was working.
Hold on. Understand it's leading. There is some leeway when it's just laying foundation, so it's overruled, and the witness may answer, and the answer he provided may stand. Go ahead.
Correct. I was assigned to work the Christmas parade.
All right. At some point in time, were you aware of injuries to those involved in the parade, sir?
Objection, lead.
Yes.
Overruled. Make sure you apply rule on the objection, please.
Sorry.
And at some point later that evening, were you aware of a suspect being taken into custody in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
All right. I want to direct your attention to that time frame, please. Did you respond to that area, sir?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I was initially parked setting up a perimeter near the area of Southwest Avenue in Wood. When I heard Specialist Klein come over the area indicating that there was a subject going door to door in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, and then traveled north and to Elizabeth Street, which is right off of Southwest Avenue, Northwest Avenue at that point. And I traveled westbound on Elizabeth Street looking for the subject.
What did you see when you arrived in that area?
Initially, as I came to the area, I observed an officer from the village of McGuanago, an officer from the Big Bend Police Department, as well as an officer from the City of Delafield Police Department in the area. I traveled westbound, spotlighting residents in the general area looking for the subject. Initially, I didn't see anyone, so I made it to the end of the street, at which point I began to double back. I briefly stopped and spoke with some civilians in the area, just saying, hey, if you see anyone, call the police department, let us know. And as I traveled back eastbound on Elizabeth Street in the 500 block, I observed the three officers from those aforementioned police departments detaining one subject at gunpoint in the front lawn of 553 Elizabeth Street.
You had indicated there were people out and about, civilians?
Yes, there was some people out on their porches or patios. I had my lights going on my squad, so that drew attention for people to kind of look out and call out to me as I was making a Y-turn.
Do you know about what time of day this was?
Not off the top of my head. It was dark out, though.
Okay. As in relation to when the incident at the parade occurred to when you're arriving on Elizabeth Street, can you give us a rough time frame?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
45 minutes an hour at the max.
Okay. So when you roll up on 553 Elizabeth Street, tell me what you saw.
So as I was coming back eastbound, I could see the lights from the other officers illuminating a subject on the ground. I immediately pulled up, parked my squad, got out and began running to where the officers were. And as I came up to where they were in the front lawn area between the residents and the sidewalk, they were in the midst of handcuffing and detaining a subject on the ground.
the subject that was being handcuffed and detained on the ground, you see that person in the courtroom here today?
I do, yes.
Are you able to identify him?
Yes,
Would you like him to remove his mask in order to do so, sir?
please.
Okay.
Mr. Brooks, if you would please. Thank you.
So the subject I saw was Darrell Brooks seated at the defendant's table wearing a dark-colored suit with a gray shirt.
And you said he was already on the ground in the process of being handcuffed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see any officers slam Mr. Brooks to the ground?
No.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Did you see any use of force directed towards Mr. Brooks by any police officer on the scene at that time?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Did you approach Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
Yes.
What did you say?
I asked him to identify himself. At that time, he said Brooks. I again asked him to identify himself. He identified himself as Darrell Brooks.
That's the name he gave you, identifying himself.
Yes.
Objection. That's not what it says in the video.
Overruled.
Yes.
All right. Did that name have any significance when you heard it, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I knew prior to responding to that location that Officer Moss, who had initially located the car, had made a cursory check of the vehicle. During that time, he found documentation belonging to a Darrell Brooks.
Okay. At some point, do you recall getting Mr. Brooks up off the ground?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Tell us what you remember at that point.
Darrell Brooks was picked up off the ground or assisted off the ground. He was then escorted to the front of my marked squad where I searched him.
At this point, are you probably the only officer from the City of Waukesha Police Department on the scene?
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, I was the only officer from the City of Waukesha at that time.
And the other officers were providing mutual aid to the City of Waukesha Police Department?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes.
Being the squad from the City of Waukesha and the parade occurring in Waukesha, did you take custody of Mr. Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes.
Prior to placing him in your squad, was Mr. Brooks searched?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Tell us what you remember about that, sir.
So I searched Mr. Brooks, during which time I found some cards in his right pocket that had his name on it, as well as a black Ford key.
When you say some cards, can you describe those further, please?
Debit or credit cards.
All right. I'm going to show for you an item that's been marked as Exhibit 176. It's been previously admitted. I'd ask that it be displayed for the jury again, Your Honor.
Permission granted.
Objection.
You see the photograph on the monitor in front of you, sir?
Yes.
Do you see yourself in that photograph?
Yes.
Where are you?
I am the officer with his back to the camera with police written across a fluorescent yellow and orange vest.
Do you recall what you were doing at this point in time?
At that point, it looks like I'm buckling Darrell Brooks into the back of my squad,
All right.
placing him into the back of my squad.
And you see a set of hands on the right side of the photograph, sir?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
Yes.
You see the objects that are being held in those hands, sir?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
Yes.
Is that consistent with what you just testified as to the items you removed from Darrell Brooks before placing him in your squad?
Objection.
Overruled.
Consent to being called that name and it's
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes.
It's a little blurry, but can you circle for us the key that you indicated you found?
With my finger, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And because it's a little hard to see, can you describe that key as you recall?
As I recall, the key was a single key. I don't recall there being any keychain to it. It was a fob type that had some buttons and it had a Ford emblem on it that indicated that was a Ford key.
Okay. What did you do with these items after you, strike that. That's Should ask a better question. Did you eventually get these items back from the officer who was holding them?
Yes.
And what did you do with them?
I took custody of them until they were ultimately turned over to Detectives Stern and Detectives Carpenter.
All right. Do you remember Mr. Brooks asking you why he had been detained?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
Yes.
You may answer, sir.
Yes.
Do you remember specifically what he said?
I recall that he had questioned why the police were handcuffing him or why the police were detaining him.
Did you reply?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I told him that he was being detained as he matched a description of a subject involved in a crash in the downtown area.
Did you say anything about the parade?
No.
Okay. Thank you, officer. I don't have any other questions for you.
Any cross?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do you recall speaking with Officer Moss that evening?
Not distinctly. There might have been some radio traffic between me and him at one point.
So it'd be fair to say that radio traffic, you guys spoke.
I can't tell you if I had direct contact with him or if I just recall him airing particular pieces of information.
Do you recall any particular bit of information that was aired by Officer Moss?
You're going to have to be more specific.
Do you recall Officer Moss airing that he had spoken with a potential eyewitness who indicated that they had observed numerous suspects run from the vehicle?
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I recall Officer Moss airing that to the officers responding in general that there may have been more than one suspect that had ran from the vehicle.
And do you recall if that aired information? Wait a second, back that up. You just stated that there may have been any reason why the air information said it had been, that he had spoken to a potential eyewitness?
Objection, hearsay, and
Grounds.
false or speculation as to the words of another person.
Grounds.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Do you recall any air information of descriptions?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were?
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
You're asking him the description of the suspect leaving the vehicle?
What he heard aired?
Overruled. He may answer.
I recall there being a description of either a light-skinned black male or possible Hispanic male wearing a white shirt, as well as the potential of a white male with curly brown hair.
Do you recall what you did after hearing that air information?
Yes.
What did you do?
I responded to Officer Moss's general location, at which point he requested that a perimeter be set up. So I responded further south to set up a perimeter to attempts to keep those people within the confines of that perimeter.
Do you recall what general area that was?
You're going to have to be more descriptive to what general area are we talking about here?
The area where Officer Moss was.
Officer Moss was at 338 Maple.
Is that the area that you responded to?
Generally, yes.
What do you mean by generally?
I was driving to the residence when he asked that a perimeter be set up.
And do you recall where you set that perimeter up?
Yes.
And where was that?
It was loosely around that residence as well as to the south and to the west.
What streets were to the south and to the west?
Numerous streets.
Well, I'm referring strictly to your perimeter that you set. Do you recall which street you set your perimeter?
I want to say that I was probably the southernmost squad at that time, and I was at Southwest and Wood.
I'm sorry, what was the second street?
Wood?
Thank you.
While setting up your perimeter, did you receive any more information about the suspects who fled from the vehicle?
It was all kind of at the same time.
Do you recall being advised that the male black had possibly fled southbound and that the male white may have fled in the westbound direction?
Your Honor, I object. Move to strike. He's providing statements and facts that are not in evidence. They're based on hearsay.
The
Sustained.
question was, did he recall being advised that? That was the question. Does he recall being advised?
Still hearsay. Sustained.
So who were you advised by?
Officer Moss.
And do you recall what you were advised?
Objection. Hearsay.
Sustained. Next question.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor?
Next question, please. Hearsay.
What's that hearsay? And how did you end up being dispatched to the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
I heard another officer error that they were listening to Waukesha County Communications, indicating that there was a person going door to door in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street.
I'm sorry, you said you stated you heard that?
Yes.
Would that be like hearsay?
Only if it's being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. If it's just explain what he did next, then no.
That was the same question I asked before, Your Honor. And upon arriving at Elizabeth Street, you stated that there was already a suspect being detained at the moment that you arrived?
No.
So what did you observe when you got to the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
I already explained that upon getting there, I traveled westbound on Elizabeth Street till it ended, at which point I turned around and came back. So when I initially got there, I didn't see anything.
Did you observe someone being detained at gunpoint?
Not upon initially getting there, no.
Not initially. Did at any time you observe someone being detained at gunpoint?
Yes, I already said that.
Do you recall what they had on?
Yes.
You state for the record and for the jury what they had on?
They had red T-shirts and blue jeans.
Blue jeans. Were they jogging pants or blue jeans?
Appeared to be blue jeans.
And do you recall why the suspect was being detained at that time?
Yes.
And what do you recall about why they were being detained at that time?
You were being detained for involvement in a crash in the downtown area.
And upon when the suspect was detained, do you recall stating that you were confident they were either the driver or passenger of the vehicle found at 338 Maple?
No, I never said that.
Did you give a report about what happened that evening?
Yes.
Did you write it yourself?
Yes.
So I'm reading from your report right here that you just stated that you wrote. Do you recall saying, I was confident that Brooks was either the driver or passenger of the striking vehicle?
That is in my report. However, you asked if I said that. I didn't say that. That's a more or less an internal dialogue with myself saying that I felt confident that you were the suspect, either the driver or passenger in that vehicle.
So it'd be fair to say at the time of your report, you were confident that it was more than one person in the vehicle?
No.
So why did you write the report in that fashion?
I was confident that you were involved with that vehicle and with the crash in the downtown area.
So would it be fair to say that you could have written your report in that fashion instead of the fashion that you wrote it?
Objection, argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained. As to the form of the question.
Any reason why you were referred to a passenger?
Yes. Initially, there was reports that multiple people fled from the vehicle, from the area of the vehicle.
And because of those reports is why you wrote your report in that fashion, or in the fashion that you wrote it.
Objection asked and answered. Argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustain as to the formula question.
So when you observed the suspect being detained at Elizabeth Street, at that time, did you know the suspect's name?
No.
And you found a credit or debit card when conducting a search?
Yes.
Do you recall where you found that credit or debit card?
Your right pocket.
In Exhibit 176, where it shows someone holding the credit card, was that you
Was what me?
holding the credit card?
No.
But you are the one that found it.
Yes.
And what else did you find?
A Ford car key, vehicle key.
And where did you find that?
Your right pants pocket.
You play Exhibit 80 for the witness.
Stay able to do that, please? The entire
Can you-
video or just a part of it?
I'm guessing around the 4-minute and 50 or something, somewhere up in that area.
That's the last 10 seconds, sir. Is that what you want?
Yeah, somewhere up in that area.
Take a look at it. Is that where you want us to start? Or farther back?
A little further back.
Thank you, Miss Gussie. How about there? 436.
A little further back, I'm sorry. Maybe, yeah, wherever it's at right now, 409. Can you play it from there real quick?
You want the sound, I take it?
I don't really think the sound is necessary. More so the visual.
Okay. Playing from 4:15.
Do you remember this video?
No, I don't. I didn't. That's not my body cam video.
Pause. Go back like 2 seconds.
Thank you once again for doing that.
Is that this touchscreen, right? Is this right here the credit debit cards that you found?
I can't tell what that is.
Can you clear that?
Madam Clerk, please and thank you.
Thank you. Can you go back maybe 2 more seconds? I think it's a clearer shot.
For the record, Your Honor, it's not that easy to just jump back 2 seconds. I mean, if he has a specific time, we can jump to a time.
How would I know if I've only seen the video once? Like, why is it that big of a deal? Can you play from right there? Right there.
4:35, Your Honor.
4:35.
Now it's on 4:37. We
Can
started
you pause it
at
at 4:35?
Right, it was started and then you said pause, and obviously it takes time to do that, so. And the record should reflect that Mr. Brooks has drawn a circle around something on the still image. Go ahead, ask your question.
The record should reflect consent to that name.
Ask your question, sir.
Around the 4:35 mark, you can see whoever this is holding the credit card, debit card. Is that you?
objection. That assumes a fact not in evidence, Your Honor.
Sustain. Rephrase your question.
Can you clear that?
Madam Clerk, please. Thank you.
You said that you found a key. Where's the footage of you finding the key?
I don't have a body cam, so there's not going to be video of my body cam.
So if you were wearing your body cam, it would have depicted what you found during your search.
No, the city of Waukesha did not have body cams during this incident.
So it'd be fair to say there is no footage of you finding a key. Grounds.
It's argumentative, and he's already said he was not wearing a body camera.
Actually,
He can't know possibly, it's speculation, he can't know possibly.
Actually, he said the city of Waukesha didn't have body cams. He didn't say.
Right. It's sustained. It assumes facts not in evidence and calls for speculation on the part of this witness. And there's also lack of foundation as to this witness.
The foundation is this mysterious key he said he found.
The jury will disregard that statement made by Mr. Brooks. It's not his time to testify. You will have an opportunity to do that later if you choose.
I don't consent to being called that name for the record.
Madam Clerk, you can take that off.
At any time that evening, were you able to detain any other suspects?
No.
After the suspect was detained, do you recall how long you stayed at the scene?
Which particular part of the scene?
Where you had detained the suspect?
At 553 Elizabeth Street?
Correct.
Off my best estimate, I was probably there for about 25 minutes.
And what did you do in those 25 minutes?
During those 25 minutes was time detaining you, as well as briefly speaking with the homeowner, and ultimately turning you back over to detectives.
And what did you do from there?
From there, I went back into a perimeter position.
Would that be referring to the perimeter that you mentioned that you had set
Yes,
around the area of where Officer Moss was located?
yes.
And how long did you stay at that perimeter?
I'm not 100% positive. Extended period of time.
Do you recall why you were dispatched back to that perimeter?
At that time, there was a possibility that there may be another party involved. So as the investigation was still ongoing and they're attempting to determine if there was another party involved, the perimeter was maintained so that no one could squeeze out through that perimeter and flee.
And do you recall there being ring footage of the residents of 553 Elizabeth Street?
Yes.
Did you view those? Did you view the ring footage that evening?
No.
Did you view the ring footage at all?
Yes.
Are you aware of what happened to the ring footage?
A copy of the ring footage was emailed to me by the homeowner, and it was ultimately placed on property inventory at the Waukesha Police Department.
Do you recall if it was multiple videos?
It was, yes.
Do you recall at about 1640 hours? I don't know. Would that be 440?
Yes, that's 440.
Do you recall directing traffic at the intersection of Barstow Street and Corina?
Yes.
And do you recall an officer hearing anything over the radio at that time?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall what that was?
An officer had aired that you had driven around his barricade or into the parade route.
You. Who do you refer to as you?
You, Darrell Brooks.
And you knew that at that time?
Not at that time, no.
So how would you say you?
Throughout the investigation, it was determined to be you.
And do you recall it being any other air information at that time?
Yes.
Do you recall what that was?
Objection, calls are hearsay.
Grounds.
Are you offering it for the truth of the matter asserted or for some other reason? Otherwise,
For
it's hearsay.
the truth of the matter, I'm asking him, does he recall what was aired on his radio?
Well, then you're asking him to testify to hearsay, so it's sustained.
Do you recall an officer indicating that the vehicle was continuing westbound and possibly blaring its horn?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same objection, Your Honor. He's attempting to testify and offering hearsay statements into the record.
I'm not attempting to testify.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
For the reasons the state indicated.
Do you recall?
You can ask the witness if he heard any horns at that time. That would be different. But what someone else may have reported would be hearsay if it's offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Well, I'm reading from the report that he wrote.
That doesn't take away that it's hearsay. If it's in the report and someone else said it, it's actually double hearsay.
Do you recall hearing about a vehicle blowing its horn?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled, he asked if this witness heard. That's how I heard the question. I think that's what you were asking. You mean at the... I'm a...
Did you hear about a horn?
What did you hear, Your Honor?
If the question was, did this witness hear a horn, then the witness may answer the question. Did he hear about a horn? That's different. That would be hearsay. So why don't you rephrase your question, sir?
Did you hear a horn?
No.
And just so we're clear, I assume that your question meant when he was at Barstow and Carina. Because that's where he was positioned.
Correct.
Right? That's what you meant?
Yeah.
Was that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Very well. Next question. Do you have any other questions for this witness?
Yeah. Any reason why it would be in your report that a vehicle was blaring its horn?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Grounds.
Assumes facts not in evidence. Calls for hearsay. Sustained.
Have you read the complaint in this matter?
No.
Have you seen the complaint in this matter?
No.
You yourself filed a claim in this matter?
No.
You know of anyone who filed a claim in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Overruled. He may answer if he knows.
No.
Do you recall whom subpoenaed you to testify here today?
The state of Wisconsin. Via the Washoe County District Attorney's Office.
You said state of Wisconsin. Who would you be referring to when you say state of Wisconsin?
The entity that is the state of Wisconsin judicial system.
So the state of Wisconsin is an entity to the best of your knowledge.
Yes.
Is an entity a living, breathing human?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant. Argumentative.
Sustained. Next question.
Do you know if the state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff in this matter?
Yes.
An entity is the plaintiff?
Objection. Argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained. It's also overly broad.
You ever had a phone conversation
Objection. Irrelevant.
with the plaintiff?
About this case?
About this case?
Overruled. You may answer.
No.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff in this case?
Objection, Your Honor.
Grounds.
This entire line of questioning is completely irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained on relevance grounds. Next question, please.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. This will be a good opportunity to take a mid-afternoon break as well. All rise for the jury, please. can step off. Thank you. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Be seated. Before we bring the jury back out, if we could just maybe talk scheduling for a moment. We are back on the record, and the audio's on, so that's good. Attorney Opper, where are you at for today? I presume you have probably another witness or so.
Yes, we were just discussing that as well, Your Honor. I have one more witness whom I believe will be shorter in duration, and then we would be prepared to start with another witness who is lengthier, probably about an hour for direct examination. I'm sorry, probably about 4 hours because of the recorded interviews that need to be displayed to the jury. So we could either start that witness this afternoon and get some of it done and finish with him in the morning, or just start fresh with him in the morning.
And then do we have the interpreter coming tomorrow?
Yes, and we have that interruption or pause in our case scheduled. I'm told the interpreter will be available anytime between 9:30 and noon. So maybe around the time of the mid-morning break, we would pause what we're doing in the state's case and turn to the defense witness.
All right.
And then, Your Honor, truthfully at this point, we are probably on track to rest sometime on Wednesday. We've done good today. We're on schedule for today, but especially if we have to interrupt with that defense witness tomorrow, we don't think we'll be able to finish until sometime on Wednesday.
Okay, understood. And have you been in contact with the witnesses that were subpoenaed by Mr. Brooks to let them know about when they will be needed?
Yes, and we will need further direction on that from Mr. Brooks as far as what order he would like them in and when he wants them here. And again, depending on how this shakes out, I think probably about this time tomorrow we'll be in better shape to know if we would perhaps get to defense witnesses Wednesday afternoon or just start Thursday morning with defense witnesses. If he lets us know the order he wants them in, we can start making those arrangements on his behalf. But right now, they all know that they're essentially on call for more towards the end of the week.
Right. And if my memory serves, the witness who would be called out of order, is that Juan Marquez?
Yes.
All right. So you should probably be ready to have that person, because that's when we have the interpreter available tomorrow sometime. I presume you still want to call that witness? Yeah. All right. And so just be prepared to do your direct when we can fit it in at the appropriate break, and depending on where we end with witnesses tonight. And then if you would let the state know the order of your witnesses, so we can have them come at different times so that they're not all here for days waiting to be called.
Respect. The prosecution didn't tell me the order of their witnesses. Why do I have to tell them the order of mine?
Because they're assisting you in getting them to court. They've served the subpoenas on your behalf. And as a courtesy to those witnesses, I need you to provide, I don't even care if it's the order, but if you say these three will be called in the morning, these three will be in the afternoon, that would be okay with me. I just want to be able to tell those witnesses through the DA, you three will be Wednesday afternoon, you three will be, whatever the number is, will be Thursday morning, and the rest Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, whatever it may be.
I get what you're saying, but it's still, from what I'm hearing from the prosecution, they're not sure exactly when they'll be resting their case. So
I think they're trying to rest their case sooner rather than later, but they have some witnesses to get through, and what they're telling us is that that will be sometime on Wednesday, given the pause that they will take in their case to call Mr. Marquez so that he can be questioned by you with the interpreter.
So wouldn't it make more sense to start calling my witnesses Thursday then? If
No, you should be ready to go Wednesday afternoon. I'm not going to take a break for that. You should be ready to go. I mean, if we get done at 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, that might be a different story, but it sounds like we should be able to call witnesses. Of course, you will need to let me know if you're going to give an opening statement. You had deferred that, and that could adjust some of the timing. But so I need you to provide that order to the state tomorrow when you come into court so that they can work with those witnesses better.
say I'm not going to provide a specific order, I'm not going to do that.
Well, then you need to tell which day, like morning and afternoon, and how many witnesses per. I'm not going to just bring them in all at the same time and make them wait. That's not, that would be a discourtesy to those witnesses who you are calling. So I want to have some idea of what your game plan is for them.
I get that, but I'm still confused on. I essentially didn't know who they was calling in order.
That's not really relevant at this moment, sir. So I need you to provide the order.
I'm not going to provide the order.
Or by start Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday afternoon, unless they're very short. Just keep in mind we generally have about, when we start at 8:30, we go till about noon. Probably start up an hour and 15 minutes after the lunch, so you have another couple of hours. So you should be able to know about how long you're going to question them, and just give us who those are for each of those blocks. And then be ready for Mr. Marquez tomorrow.
I'll be ready for that, but
All right.
I'll probably have an idea of who I think should come in, but I'm not going to provide an order.
Well, if he wants our assistance, Your Honor, we will do that. Otherwise, he can be responsible for getting these witnesses here himself.
You've got to cooperate with this process, or they're assisting you. Otherwise, you're going to be responsible for telling these witnesses when to come in.
And so how am I supposed to do that?
Well, then you should cooperate with the state and their assistance to help you, sir.
I'm not going to give a specific order.
Sir, are you willing to provide who the witnesses are by half day?
I just said that.
All right, then that's what I need by tomorrow morning.
I said I'm not giving an order. Is
That's
what
fine.
I said.
I'm okay with that, and the state will be okay with that because I said they'll be okay with that. So,
We're okay, Judge. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
So what about what's supposed to be going on today? How late do we plan to go today?
We'll have to see how long this witness lasts and if we can start the next witness. I 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe even 5:30. We'll see. So, with that, let's bring the jury out.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction at some point?
Not beyond what I've already addressed, sir.
Which you addressed it, you didn't prove it, you didn't verify it. It's not verified proof that you have subject matter jurisdiction yet. It's not been proven on the record. Is that a judicial determination, Your Honor, that you're not going to answer that?
Your request is noted for the record. I've already addressed it.
Is it noted for the record? It should be noted for the record. Also, that's a tacit agreement.
All rise for the jury, please. Thank you.
We already been riding. Wondering when we go get the answer to that subject matter jurisdiction, though.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Attorney Opera, you may call your next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Officer Leha.
Good afternoon, Officer Leha. If you would please make your way to my witness stand. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. And I should say the witness stand. I don't have ownership over it. But in any event, state your first and last names for the record.
First name Draylen, last name Leha.
Could you spell both?
Draelon, last name Leha, Leija.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
All right, thank you, Officer Leha. Sir, I'd like to direct your attention to the evening of November 21, 2021. Were you working on duty that afternoon?
Yes.
All right, I should ask, where do you work?
City of Waukesha Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer?
A little over 2 years.
Okay. So on that evening, were you aware that the parade was taking place in downtown Waukesha?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you work the parade?
No, ma'am.
Do you recall what time it was when you came on duty, sir?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I believe it was a little after 5.
Were you scheduled to work that evening?
Yes.
Okay. And around the time of 12 a.m. midnight, so now I think we're getting into the next day of November 22 of 2021, were you asked to assist detectives at Waukesha Memorial Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to that location?
I did.
And did you meet with anybody there?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you meet with?
I met with Detective Jay Carpenter and acting detective at the time, Detective Stern.
Did they ask you to assist them in some fashion?
Yes, ma'am.
What did they ask you to do?
I was tasked.
Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
I was tasked with transporting Mr. Brooks to the Muskego Police Department.
Okay. So at this point, Mr. Brooks is in custody.
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And the person you were asked to drive to the Muskego Police Department, did you see him in this courtroom here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you identify him, please? And if Mr. Brooks would please remove his mask, Your Honor?
Objection. I don't
Sir,
consent to
please
being
remove
called
your
that
mask.
name.
Oh, thank you. You were.
For the 100th
Apologies.
time.
Go ahead.
It's the black male sitting at the table with a black suit and the mask that he just put back on.
Where did you first meet?
Oh, hold on. The record should reflect he did point to the defense table, and the record will reflect he identified him. Go ahead.
Okay. Where did you first meet Mr. Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
The Waukesha Memorial Hospital, the police hold room.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Mr. Brooks was talking over you.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. Go ahead, sir.
At the Waukesha Memorial Hospital in the police hold room.
All right. And where were you going to take him?
To the Muskego Police Department.
Why?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
Detective Carpenter said that he was going to be there so that he can question them sometime in the near future.
Is the Muskego Police Department located in the city of Waukesha?
No, ma'am.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. He may answer.
No, ma'am.
Why didn't you take him back to your police department?
Objection.
Overruled. He may answer.
At the time, we were at the annex, which is our older police department. Our police department that we usually report out of was being renovated, so we didn't have any holding cells.
Okay. And to your knowledge, does the Muskego Police Department have a holding cell at their facility?
Objections.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And they were willing to house Mr. Brooks there under mutual aid?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So you put him in your squad car?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Tell us about that, your drive.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
So I put Mr. Brooks in my squad car. We left the hospital I took custody of him around 12:18 a.m. We typed in my GPS to the Muskego Police Department. We left the hospital. We had to go eastbound in Wisconsin, which is a road that's parallel to Main Street where the parade was taking place.
Okay.
Once we passed the while going eastbound in Wisconsin, there was multiple marked squad cars, so they're with their emergency lights on.
Do you know what they were doing?
Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
They were blocking traffic, investigating an incident that transpired earlier that evening.
Okay. Is it just, excuse me, is it just you and Mr. Brooks in the squad car?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, it was just me and Darrell Brooks in the squad car.
Okay.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
And as you traveled in the area of Wisconsin Avenue, did Mr. Brooks make any statements?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, Mr. Brooks said once we were going eastbound in Wisconsin, and I quote, he said, "Damn, it looks like they were dealing with something heavy."
Okay. Did you reply to him in any way?
No.
Did he continue to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
What else did he say?
He asked me if there was a basketball game going on or something tonight, and to which I replied, "I'm not sure."
Okay. Did you continue on transporting him to the Muskego Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point, were you responsible for watching over him at the Muskego Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. Your answer may stand. Go ahead and just wait until I rule on the
Okay, I'm
objections,
sorry.
please. That's okay.
How long did you watch him for?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
I believe we got to the jail around closer to 1 a.m. I watched him up until about 7 a.m.
What kinds of things do you remember he did overnight?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I know that he was fed around 2 a.m. He slept most of the night. He got up around 5 a.m., asked for water. I got him water. And he asked to make a phone call to his daughter.
Okay. Did you allow that?
No.
Did you said it appeared he was sleeping throughout most of the night?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled. Did
At
you
any-
answer?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Other than asking to call his daughter, did he make any other statements to you that you can recall?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I remember he made some complaints that the room was too bright. He wanted me to dim the room. Yeah, that's all that I remember he
Okay.
saying.
Like the lights in the room were too bright?
Correct, in the cell, holding cell.
Did you turn off the lights for him?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. His answer may stand.
And were you relieved by another officer then later that morning?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions.
Hey, Cross.
Yep.
That's a yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You said that you recall checking every 30 minutes on doing like well-being checks, right?
That's correct.
And how do you know for sure that the suspect was asleep?
I don't know for sure if you were sleeping. I know that the cover was over your head, and every time I go and check in on you, I could see that your chest was rising up and down from underneath the blanket. So it's a possibility that you were sleeping. It's a possibility that you weren't. I know that you were under cover, so it appeared that you were asleep most of the night.
So it'd be fair to say you're not sure.
Answer stands, Your Honor. It's asked and answered.
Objection.
Overruled. He may answer.
Could have been sleep. You probably was asleep. You probably wasn't. But the blanket was over your head most of the night.
And do you recall why the suspect was not allowed a phone call?
I was told that you had to wait for Detective Jay Carpenter to talk to you.
Do you know if that's standard practice?
Not sure if it's standard practice or not, but just following his instruction because he was going to be doing some investigation.
Would you say it's fair to say that usually a suspect being detained is allowed a phone call at some point?
Relevance.
Grounds.
Relevant, sir?
Grounds.
No. Why do you believe it's relevant?
Why would contact to the outside world be restricted?
All right, I'll rule that it's not relevant. Sustain the objection. Next question.
Do you recall what time you got to, I think it was you said, the hospital to pick up the suspect?
Yes, I left at 12:10. I got to the hospital around 12:18.
To the best of your recollection, do you recall being given any information at that time about the suspect being questioned?
I don't recall if I was given any information on you being questioned at that time.
And you referred to a police hold room inside of the hospital?
That's correct.
So it's not unusual for someone to be detained in the police hold room inside of the hospital.
That's correct. There's an active investigation going on.
So would that be the only time if during an active investigation?
Usually, someone from the outside coming into the police hold room, yes, for an active investigation.
And do you recall where in the hospital this police hold room is located?
In the hospital.
Do you recall where in the hospital it's located?
It's usually by where the police officers park their vehicles through the ambulance bay, straight ahead, and it's the second to last door on the right.
To the best of your knowledge, do you know if those police hold rooms have cameras?
I'm not sure.
Before that particular incident, had you ever been in the police hold room in that hospital?
Yep. Yes, sorry.
And you stated that detectives informed you that they would need to speak with the detainee before any phone calls would be made.
That's correct.
To the best of your recollection, did they explain why to you?
objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Calls for speculation.
Grounds.
I'm sorry, calls for hearsay
Grounds.
and speculation.
Are you offering it for the truth of the matter
Yep.
asserted? Then it's hearsay and it's submitted.
And the detainee was turned over to an Officer Paulson after, I'm guessing at the end of your shift.
That's correct.
Do you recall if the cell the detainee was sleeping in that night had cameras?
I'm not sure.
Do you recall who did the booking process at the Muskego Police Department?
Yes, I believe it was Lieutenant Andrika and Officer Klink of the Muskego Police Department.
To the best of your recollection, do you recall why one of those officers weren't doing the well-being checks?
Because you were in our custody.
Do you recall when you did your report? The date of it?
I don't recall the exact day I did my report.
Was it that same evening or was it sometime after?
When you say the same evening, what date are you talking?
The same evening or morning that you ended up having to do the well-being checks at the Muskego Police Department.
I don't recall if I did it that day, but it most definitely was done shortly after.
Shortly after, meaning a few days or a week or so?
A few days.
You don't recall if it was the 29th of November of 2021?
I don't recall.
When you were dispatched to the Waukesha Memorial Hospital, did you observe any FBI agents at the scene?
At the scene of the hospital?
Yes.
No.
So to the best of your recollection, it was only the two detectives that you made contact with.
Yes.
Can you explain what the mobile audio video recording system is?
It's an in-squad camera that records outside of the squad car, so like in front of the squad car in the prisoner compartment. And it's a microphone that we put to our vest or on our person to record audio statements.
So it records and it's video and audio.
Correct.
Did it record the detainee during your transport?
Yes, it did.
Besides the statements that you made reference to, did you observe or hear anything other than those statements?
What do you mean? Can you clarify that for me?
Did you observe anything strange or while the recording was taking place?
I don't know what you mean by strange.
Like, did you notice any strange movements by the detainee? Anything that would alarm you in any way?
Nothing that would alarm me, no.
Did you know the extent of the investigation at the time you were dispatched to Waukesha Memorial?
No, my only task was to transport you to the Muskegon Police Department.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
Nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. You may step down. Go ahead and call your next witness then, please.